events. Why is it so popular? Why are people getting into it? Is it a trend? Is it a fad? Is it finally people are clicking and getting into the space of, I want to be part of something like a movement? What's your thoughts on that?
I think for me, there's probably two main reasons. Now the first one is the pretty obvious one, which is I feel like an event is a really, really good opportunity. It provides people with a really good opportunity to showcase where they are in their journey, whether that's a fitness journey, a personal journey, whatever it is. An event is something which allows people to go to it, showcase their skills that they've developed, the skills that they are developing, in a cool place. And it's cool to go to. There's a decent audience there. There's people there, but also it just provides you with something that's a little bit independent to measure yourself against. The second one, honestly, I think is I think that events and especially like these fitness events that we see, or sport events or sport occasions, they are a really, really good way for people to socialize. And I think it is as simple as that. Certain people like to socialize in different ways. Obviously, UAE the UAE in particular being a place that's extremely health conscious.
Yeah.
People see these events as an opportunity to come along, do something that's number one, good for you. Number two, good fun. And then number three, I mean, these events are booming. There's thousands of people there. Thousands of people that instantly share the same interest as you.
Yeah.
So it provides a fantastic opportunity to socialize, interact with these people, to get that social connection that we're all crying out for.
Is it chicken or the egg? Is it the egg or is it the chicken? Because is it because there's so many more events now because the demand was there and people were crying out, or it was that people put the events on and there was more the awareness that, actually, let's go to an event?
I don't know. It's tough to say, like when we first started in this business, I mean, we got into it through the corporate angle, we do a lot of corporate events still to this day. It's extremely rewarding. We focus on the wellness angle and enhancing the wellness within workforces, which is brilliant. We still do a lot of this work and we'll still continue to do a lot of this work. Kind of then just saw that there was a demand for the events at the community level for the general population, to just run them for the general population. We ran a few of them. They seemed to go well. They seemed to be filling a hole that people, or a demand that people wanted. Unfortunately, if you deliver a good product and you're fulfilling a demand, they will just grow. That product will grow and it'll expand. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. The product is continuing to grow, is continuing to expand. So we are constantly trying to provide people with even better experiences. What do people like at these things? They like working out. They like pushing themselves really hard. They like the social connection. They like enjoying themselves. They like getting good photos of themselves doing something fairly unique, fairly special. So we've doubled down on all of those things that people enjoy and like so much about the events. So our goal is to always continue to do that, to always continue to explore and find out, why do people do these things? Where does the demand come from? And then to hopefully fulfill the needs of the people that come along,
Is it because they're, like you said, like there's a social aspect to it, there's a competitive aspect to it, there's a we call it a comparison or a competitive test, I suppose, for the individual of it. And when you talk about the experience compared to just the fact of wanting to belong, does that, how much is it? What are you seeing as far as people? Is that what's important to people? Do they want to just want to be there? I'm in the picture because I'm here with other people. They're trying to rub their brand or themselves against someone else, or change their own environment to be amongst another environment. Is that something you're seeing from people? That because how many people go to compete and then stop and watch?
100%. I think you make a really good point, and I think you are right, and I think that is. That is why people come, there's the obvious one, which I think a lot of people assume that the main reason why people come is to showcase how good they are at a certain sport. I'm speaking specifically now about fitness competitions, so whether that's a High Rocks or whether that's a turf games or a precision series or whether it's like a primal race or something like this, you assume that the number one and only reason that people come is to be like, this is how awesome I am at this sport. Whereas in reality, there is a big part of it. And I think it is really good to provide people with this opportunity to have something to train towards, because I feel like in functional fitness and in the, it's an extremely fast growing sport.
Hey there, if you're finding this episode inspiring, you're finding it useful, applicable, we would love you to be part of the community. There's power in community, there's power in numbers. And by subscribing to the channel that you're watching this on or listening to this on, or sharing it with people that you know that may help benefit them, will only help us find more people within the community to help it grow, to support people to live an active and adventurous lifestyle. So if you don't mind, it would mean a lot if you just push subscribe, push like, and share it with someone that is going to help today.
But if you're just going to your gym, some of the gyms have amazing communities, by the way. They offer fantastic programs, amazing classes, extremely fulfilling. But if you are, I think it gets to the point where you go into these classes, you're training really hard, you're working really hard, but what are you working towards?
Yeah.
What's
your purpose or your point?
Exactly. Now, if you're like, you look at like a more traditional sport, let's say, or a sport that's a little bit older, like rugby. My background's in rugby. You go rugby training 2-3 times a week. You turn up on Tuesday, Thursday night. I mean, it's fairly obvious what you're training for. You have games,
get better to win the match.
Exactly. Like, why do you go training? Well, I want to get better because we have a game next week, and I want to be able to perform in that game to the best of my ability, with my team. So I feel like a lot of people who go to the gym, some of these people, they go every single day. They go 5-6 times a week. They train really hard. They're doing these like WODs and stuff in the classes. They're following a program. Brilliant. Really, really good. But if you're not aiming towards something or moving towards something, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to maintain that level of motivation.
Yeah.
So I like to think that, if you've got an event coming up, could be one of ours, could be someone else's, it's coming up in 8 weeks, right? I'm going to do a program. I'm going to follow it. I'm going to train towards that. Then you come to that. It's fun. It's exciting. You get to do things that are a little bit different. You compete against people who are a little bit better than you, a little bit worse than you. You're competing against yourself, obviously. You compete with people in the teams. So fulfilling, And then you finish that competition, but then that motivation then is fueled further because like the endorphins and the experience, you come and you're like, wow, that was awesome. And then it's like, right, when's the next one?
Yeah.
I think without the events and without those occasions, I feel like maybe the motivation could wane. It takes a very strong person to continually put the graft in. If you're only training for, let's say, I don't know, aesthetic reasons or something, if you're just training to look good for a summer bod for a photo in Zante,
Tell you off to next.
I mean, yeah, brilliant. Congrats.
Totally.
And it's good to have small targets like that, but I think sometimes it's good to have bigger targets,
You're on both sides of it too. You're see, the main thing you've been doing mostly has been, you did the rugby, then you're going to organizing all these different events, and now you're competing yourself. See, like from your perspective, is it the same for you as to compete to like for yourself, test yourself, or is it because as an organizer you want to find more, like not research the competition, but like you want to compete yourself, or is it I
mean, competing for me, a very loose term, I just turn up and try not to embarrass myself. But
success every time for all of us.
I think it's very good to have multiple reasons for doing anything, because then if like the one thing that if you only have one thing that motivates you, and then, things change, like that thing might disappear, and then you don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm not motivated to do this anymore. Now, for me, my reason for doing events and for competing specifically, I mean, the number one reason for me is always enjoyment. I've never actually done a primal race, for example. We've run the primal race 11 times now. So I've always been the event manager. I stand there, I watch people do it, and I always think...
Did you do it for the first time lately? Did you?
Yeah, exactly. So
see, I follow you, mate.
So yeah, 11 times was I watched people... it just looked like the primal's so cool. It's so tough, mentally, physically challenging. I'm looking at all these cool people rock up. They're doing it. They're pushing themselves to the absolute limit. And, I've organized it and I'm the event manager, but I've never experienced it myself. You know? And I'm stood this crazy FOMO, just like, what can I do to do this? So then when the last one came, we did the one in Dubai. Board. I was like, right, I don't care what's going on. I'm going to make sure that like, my role, I've planned it as diligently and to the T as much as I can, and I put myself in the final heat of the day, and I was like, I'm doing it.
Awesome.
I did it. Nice. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
like,
probably
absolutely loved it. It was so good. Like, And yeah, but for me, yeah, I would say, like, honestly, the number one reason for me to do these events, because I've done a number of other events as well. I did the Mind Games, the Warehouse competition the other weekend. I thought that was really, really cool as well. But I would say that the number one reason for me doing them is for fun. But I think you do need more than one reason, you know, like I said. So the number two reason for me is, I think it's so important to have something to train for. I've been extremely guilty. You need direction. You need it. Like, whether you want to be like the best in the world at your sport, or whether you want to just like be the best version of yourself you can. I feel like it reminds me of something like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you know, like if you're like driving a boat, but you don't know where you go, and you're just going to float around the ocean and end up nowhere, you know? So I feel like having direction or having something to train towards is just so important. What I've always been guilty of in my training since I retired from professional rugby was I was just like extremely non-specific with my training. It was like, I'm going to go in this week, I'm going to do some cleans. I'm going to go in next week, I'm going to do some hybrid stuff. I'm going to go next week, I'm going to do some running. Then the week after, I'm going to play some touch rugby. Then I'm going to do some boxing. Then I'm going to do some BJJ. And I end up just being very average at everything, not really making any progress, not really making any like aesthetic difference to my body. You know, like I'm not getting any training effect because I'm not committed or following a specific program. So for me to have, to be honest, it was actually another event that got me to really appreciate the importance of having a target and having a goal to train for. And it was actually the Crucible. You know, the event that they did down in Abu Dhabi a couple weeks ago. Super cool event, very clean, very nicely run, like quite a nice event to train for, because the movements were all like very specific, you know. So
you knew the 5 exercises you had to do. The 5, that was
exactly. It was like front squats and pull-ups and something. I embarrassed myself on the pull-ups, but
sprint,
we live and
bike,
learn.
and press.
It was cool, you know. And I trained for it for about 4 or 5 weeks, which, like, upon reflection, just wasn't obviously long enough. But for me, the whole experience of just having something to focus my mind on, turn up, and then obviously compete in something that I'd been training for, it was extremely rewarding, you know. I mean, I didn't do as good as I would have liked to have done, but I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my body. I learned so much about like how I like certain things, certain types of training have like a certain type of training effect on my body. And I thought I knew my body really well. You know, I was fortunate enough to play professional rugby for 12 years. Like trained every day, had like an S&C coach, all this. I thought I knew my body inside and out. Turns out, no, I don't. You know, and your body's always changing as well. So I may have known my body when I was 25, 26. I mean, I'm a little bit older than that now. So like my body's a little bit different. And it was really good to follow a relatively specific training program, to train for something pretty specific. Like I said, turned up, my main competition was myself. I didn't, like my performance, I wasn't happy with it, you know. But did I enjoy the event? Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it, and I loved the experience of training for it as well.
Well, that's something that I think that's really good for the listener side point of view, is that when you are training for something more specific, that's obviously what gives you direction, because it allows you to hone in on a particular skill or set of skills that you require for the outcome. Like a big thing people get to is running races and cycling races and stuff. When it comes to fitness events, though, like you said, the thought of it before was train to train, aesthetics and movement, right? I think now, though, and you're the perfect guy to ask about this, is because people are wanting to move more later in life. They're not looking to be as competitive, but I think fitness events specifically, you have to go with a mindset of, I'm there to beat myself. I mean, if you beat other people, it's a bonus. It's just an added on, a cherry on, because you can only do what you can do, and the only thing you can only what do you call it? The only influence you can have on this competition is how well you, as an individual, perform. Like, you know what I mean? So it's not like you can go in there and all of a sudden be lifting heavier or running faster or cleaning more. Like, you pretty much know how many reps you're going to do or how much weight you're going to lift before you get to this kind of event, right?
I think you make a really good point there about actually like fitness and these sort of events specifically, because generally in this game, there's much less variables than if you compare it to something like, I'll compare it to rugby again, basketball, football. There's so many variables in those sports, those games, you know, because every single football game that's ever existed in the world ever is completely different.
Literally.
You know? Whereas like in something like, a CrossFit competition or a functional fitness competition or like a hybrid race or something like this, I mean, the variables are much less.
It was a very specific layout, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be this reps, this distance, or this time to get across the line.
Yeah. Like you pretty much know, like, look, there's some amazing programmers out there. Like we recently had the experience of working with Jake Henry from Eliath, a fantastic coach, amazing programmer of workouts, especially like event-specific workouts for top-level athletes. Some of the workouts that he did for the Precision Solo competition were just insane. So cool, such a good stimulus. But a lot of those athletes, because they know their body so well and because they know their limits so well, they would have pretty much known like how they were going to attack each of the workouts.
Yeah.
You know, and then they do the workout. And so I think that's a really good point of like, yeah, there's less variables. So you can.
It's not like someone's going to come and lift it for you, you know.
Yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like there's not really, which is the really cool thing about this sport is there's no really any hiding places.
Yeah,
because it's like you can't really blame anything external. Like it's on you.
Yeah,
you know, like you turn up and it's like, oh, I didn't do that well. Well, who's there to blame?
Yeah,
I mean, the barbell's the same weight for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So it's like you either didn't prepare enough or whatever. So that's why I think it's
just where you're at. That's just where you're at. Like the acceptance of
exactly, and that's why it's so good when you're in this game. The biggest competition always has to be yourself, you know, and then that's I think that results in that leads to like a healthy mindset when you approach these competitions, when you approach a workout, when you approach a challenge. If your biggest competition is always yourself and you're just trying to be better than you yourself were yesterday, that's very powerful.
Well, that's what you get from a lot of, and this is what I imagine you're seeing too from the events that you do. I mean, you've just got to tap on it yourself that it was, you know, you really enjoyed the event. Okay, you were upset with yourself. And it was just funny. I think literally every single person that goes into a fitness event, or 99.9% of people go like, happy I did it, enjoyed it, but I could have done better. Like, I think that's the same thing that everybody kind of thinks. I remember when I was doing these competitions and I was winning them and I was still like going, but I could have gone faster. I could have done better. And so I think the part of it being in breaking this too, when it goes into fitness, the event side of it, even when you're doing it as a team, like, okay, that's another element when you think of it as a sport. Like, I still don't consider fitness events a sport yet, because it is competitive from the fact that you got to try and lift more, you got to kind of run faster, you got to complete this quicker. And when I think about running events, like there's a massive psychology game because it is about, I don't need to go out fast at the start, you know, or I'm going to push a little harder so that they push and maybe they burn themselves out. And, you know, there's quite a big strategy there. Yeah. And I know they're trying to do it with CrossFit as well, but do you see it with the competitions you're running with Precision? Do you see that strategy of how people are trying to potentially take out someone else? If it is an event where it's across the line first, because that's not as often as it. There's not as much of across the line first in these fitness events. It's here's my time that I've set up. Like even High Rocks is a little different. The elite side of it is they race, gun start, and the first across the line. Yeah. But the majority of people that participate in High Rocks is your time. You start now and you compare your time later on to someone. They're well ahead of you than someone else as they go in waves. So
I don't know. I think what I would say to that is that I feel like, I mean, I've got quite a lot of experience with the community here in the Middle East, Saudi and UAE and Bahrain and a few of those places. I feel like the culture around the sport is amazing, you know, super supportive of each other, whilst also being very competitive, you know. And I think that, like, I mean, we've done countless events now and we see it at all of them, you know, everyone is extremely supportive of each other, you know, whilst also like watching each other really closely, really intently, like, oh, they got this, I need to do that. And I love it, honestly. Like, I feel like it's, that's what does make it a sport for me, because sport, I feel like, is all about supporting each other, bringing the best out in each other, bringing people together. And you see all those things in fitness. You see it in High Rocks, you see it in the functional fitness competitions, you see it in CrossFit. Like, and that for me is what I would say that is what makes it a sport for me. Yeah.
What about the side of it from, and your thoughts on this one too? Because in fitness, I feel like there seems to be a smaller number of people at the top of a game. So, for example, if they come into a fitness event and you know someone, there's just less people at the top. You know, like, oh, if they're there, they're going to win. It's going to be one of 2 or 3 people. Well, it's going to be one person. So everyone else is fighting for second down or fourth and down, which means, in my perspective, it makes it more of a participant or participation orientated focus. Then that's why I think it becomes more compete against myself and better myself type of thing, because I know a lot of events are also trying to put the whole, here's prize money, but reality is that prize money is literally for, again, 2-3 people.
Yeah, the top 1%.
Usually max. Yeah. Well, even 0.101% isn't.
Yeah.
I would never go to an event now these days expecting to win. It'd be like, you just look around and be like, straight away, it's going to be this one. Even if it's divisions, it's going to be, because they just stand so far above the rest. You seen that, or seen that? Or
I don't know. I feel like the one thing I love about our events, this is what I would say, because to be honest, we have incredible athletes come to the events. Our events, some of the events I go to, like, I think that people outside of the UAE would be, not everyone. I mean, a lot of people are very knowledgeable with the standard of athlete we have here, but the standard of athlete here, even the average athlete, is very high, I feel. Yeah, like obviously standard of athlete in Australia is very high. Like when you look at like the CrossFit Open and stuff, extremely high. UK, obviously America, very, very high. But here is very strong. You've got some, even the top 1% here, they're competitive globally, and they can do some incredible things. And then I feel like the average standard as well is also improving all the time. What for me though, what I love to see is, like, we've been doing these events now. We founded Precision back in 2020, so we've been doing them for quite a few years. We're in our 5th year of operation now. Some of the people, we've seen them, like, they came to our first ever event, functional fitness competition, Precision Games, teams of 4, come along, like very accessible workouts. And like some of the people were coming, like they struggled like with their form on a barbell, struggled to like really push themselves in a workout. But then you see them now, 4 or 5 years later, the progress they've made is just amazing, you know? I'm not taking credit for that, by the way. I think,
but it's an instigator too. Instigator gives people direction to improve themselves, right?
If I played 1% of a role in that, I'm very happy with that. Because I feel like sport, fitness, like they're gateways to all the best things in life. They're gateways to better health, better social connections, a better version of yourself. They develop skills that are applicable across all facets of life, whether that be resilience, determination, hard work, delayed gratification, all these things that are so applicable to like life, business, relationships, all that.
Yeah, massively.
So like I said, even if we played 1% of a role in helping, this lady become a little bit better at these competitions now, like that's amazing. Yeah. But I think that, big shout out to the amazing gyms, facilities we got here. Like, we're very lucky, we're very spoiled. The coach is next level. The average coach, you go into a gym, like a normal coach that you walk into, they're world class. They are world class, good coaches, amazing personable skills, amazing like emotional, social intelligence. And like, the coaching that you'd walk into like any of these gyms and you see taking place on a day-to-day basis, it's just like, wow, like that's just insane. It's so good. It's one of the reasons why I think that, being a lover of sport, fitness and health and stuff is one of the reasons why the UAE is one of the best places in the world to live, isn't it?
100%. It's feeding itself. Like, it's feeding from sports to fitness and fitness to sports. Like, it's literally like people are like yourself, gone from a professional background in sports, now doing, you organize well, but I mean, you compete as well. It gives you another reason to keep moving or keep training towards something, and so that side of things. I want to go dive into with people like the best kind of protocols or the best kind of way to set themselves up to be someone who is, I'm into this. Let's start with the person trying to get into fitness and what kind of maybe potentially mindset or what things you recommend after what you're seeing with people, what they do to get into fitness. Because I have a lot of people say like, I want to go to an event, but that they don't because whatever reason, there's multiple reasons why they don't go and do it. But where would you be recommending people start off with when it comes to competing in a fitness event?
The one thing that we're striving to do now, so obviously we've got Precision Games coming up. So this is a little bit of a plug for the business.
Do it. www.
One of our biggest targets for Precision Games is to make it the most inclusive event that UAE has seen to date. And then hopefully we'll see other people trying to emulate what we've done. Which I think is brilliant. We want to have a youth competition with 2 different age groups, catering for all of the youth divisions. We're going to have our intermediate category, which will most likely be our biggest division. We're going to have the elite category, which will be super cool and the one which everyone will kind of want to watch. We're also going to have the masters. So 35 plus. So we're going to cater to that audience, which is huge because there's so many really, really good athletes that are 35 plus in the country.
Massively. Yeah.
And then we're also going to have the everyday division. So the everyday division will be pretty much exactly the same workouts that all of the other divisions have, just scaled back and made much more accessible. So even if you are a fit guy or a gal,
Guy. That's
but
very
you know, you
American.
maybe don't have some of the movement patterns. Maybe you're quite new to this sort of thing. Maybe the barbell's a little bit intimidating or the rig is a little bit intimidating. No worries. Come down, do the everyday division. You can still work really hard.
Yeah.
You can still access everything. And you can still have a great time. And it's like a dipping your toe in the water type thing, you know?
And still competing against yourself ultimately anyway, right? So
Exactly. So, you know, we're going to have all of those different divisions at the Precision Games. And we're really, really, really proud of that.
Wicked.
And hopefully there'll be someone for everyone, whether you're like I was talking about earlier, one of the top 1% in the country, something for you guys, brilliant. Come down, you know, demonstrate your skills, showcase what you can do. Or whether you're like a little bit older and you want to compete against people who are the same age as you, or whether you're a kid and you're like looking for a sport to get into, or you're looking for a sport which is going to enhance a sport that you're already in, or then, like I said, whether you're sort of like in the space, you know you have a normal job like a teacher, but you are pretty good. You train 2, 3, 4 times a week. Yeah, jump in the intermediate. There's a good opportunity for you to push yourself. Or whether you are like brand new, a little bit intimidated, no worries. Come down, get in the everyday.
what are the most common exercise movements that are used in fitness competitions?
I guess like functional fitness. A lot of functional fitness is based on body weight stuff. You know, so you'll have a lot of like body weight movements, burpees. Always, we see a lot of burpees because they're hard, and you're moving your full body. Obviously, running, stuff like that. And then I guess it depends on the event provider, you know. We're very lucky now with Precision. We've got some really, really good partners, so we can pretty much do everything. You know, we've got access to all of the equipment, including rigs, lifting platforms, barbells, all the different machines. So I think, you know, you come to a Precision, you'll see pretty much everything. You know, you'll be stimulating your body in every way possible across the 5 workouts in the event, which is really, really nice because that's what you want. You want to have the full body training effect, you know, testing different strengths, weaknesses. So I think, yeah, which one do we see most commonly? Burpees. I'm going to throw it out there.
Down up. So some people call them.
Yeah, just getting. Yeah, you get someone to move their full body. Like, I mean, it's going to be hard.
Yeah,
you know.
100%. The reason I'm asking that one is because of the line of, you know, people. If you got stronger legs, you tend to usually do a lot better in a lot of fitness. Because they are running based, lower leg based. I mean, if it's carrying, pushing, working, jumping, like there's a lot of thigh glute stuff going on.
Well, yeah, So this is something I pinched off a podcast, but they were saying something like, so the 3. I'm paraphrasing now, but it was like this super expert on health and fitness and stuff.
Simon Sinek's one.
Maybe it was, yeah.
Heart, lungs, and thighs.
Heart, lungs, and thighs. Yeah, the 3 most important body parts, like as predictors of longevity, right?
Yes, that's one. Yeah,
and it was obviously heart, lungs,
because of movement,
and then it's like your thighs,
yeah,
you know, which dates all the way back. Like I'm again digging deeper into what he was saying, like strong thighs, social connection, because obviously like our ancestors would have walked a lot more to like interact with people and stuff. But
even 10 years ago. Like just then, never mind, 100 years ago, people had to walk, people had to be active to be socialized. 100%.
Yeah.
So that one was a good one, very good one.
Yeah, like, a lot. I mean, I would say in pretty much every workout in a functional fitness competition, you are working your thighs, you know, wherever the workout is, even if it's like dominant press, you know, overhead press. I mean, there will be an element of that workout where you are testing your bigger muscle groups, you know, mainly your thighs, glutes and thighs, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. When it comes to the preparation side of things, advice on how people can prepare better for an event. Okay, they've done some training, that's great. Now it's like, okay, like showing up. Like a lot of people, and because overtraining is a massive thing as well. A lot of people have this stigma, the mentality of, if I'm going to get better, I've just got to keep doing more and go harder and go harder and go harder. What would your advice be to someone to when they can prepare for a prepare for a competition? What do you do to start with, and then does it
I
work
mean,
for you? Can you advise someone else to do it?
Well, I finished last in. Like no, I think it comes down to the 1%ers.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes. For me, the first thing I would say is this, you know, if it has to be like huge, drastic things, which just become an inconvenience for your day-to-day life, I mean, it's probably you do the thing that you're trying to do is too big. Like for an example, if you're working all day on Friday and your competition's on Saturday, but you have a normal job, you're working 9 to 5 on Friday. Don't stress that you haven't eaten like 7 meals and gotten in your 5,000 calories. You know, because the negative effect of you stressing about that is going to be way more detrimental to your performance the next day.
Totally.
You know, so it's like, you know, little 1%ers that you can seamlessly inject into your routine. You know, so things like, okay, if you do have a competition that weekend, you probably need to make sure you are fully hydrated. You know, we live in the desert, it's very humid, even inside with the AC and stuff like this. Being hydrated is extremely, extremely important, not to be underestimated. Like the effects of dehydration or even being slightly underhydrated on performance is huge. And obviously
lots of stats to back that up too.
And the hydration process, I think where a lot of people maybe not aware of, but this is something that I learned from my own performances in competitions like this, and from seeing countless athletes and talking to countless athletes at these competitions. The hydration doesn't start the morning of the competition.
No,
you know,
not at all.
It starts like
neither the fueling.
36, 48 hours before, even more. You know, your cells need to be full. Your glycogen stores, they need to be full up as well. Obviously, being hydrated, it's very important, and it starts days before the actual event itself. So just getting into a good routine of like constantly sipping on good quality water, you know, so that's not the unfortunately a lot of the mainstream water here is just not great at hydrating you. You know, you need to be getting in like your Evian mineral water type stuff, or getting electrolytes in your water bottle. So I think that would probably be like a pretty easy one that most people could quite easily integrate into their routine leading into competition that weekend. Overtraining is really important. Like really important not to do.
So just to clear that one up.
Like we see
recovery, like rest before the event.
This is actually I'm taking someone else's advice, because I don't, you know, I'm not a coach. Like I don't have my CrossFit level 1 or anything like that. I just like, this is things that I pick up from other coaches. And one thing that coaches say to me when like Precision Games is coming up or something, what they see a lot of in their gyms is that people are practicing specific workouts, which I think is brilliant. Okay, you have to practice specific workouts. We do make the workouts quite interesting, quite complex to test people mentally, physically, strategically. But what coaches then say to me is like, they'll see people practicing this one workout 8 times, you know, in like a week.
Like, oh, okay.
So you're like, if let's say the workout has a lot of toes to bar in it, and you've practiced that workout 8 times in 8 days. I mean, you've done way too many toes to bar then. So the chances of injury go up, you know, the
fatigue will kick in faster.
Fatigue kicks in, the competition comes around, and you probably perform worse because you're so fatigued from doing so many toes to bar.
Literally, yeah.
So I think overtraining is good. I think training, and that goes hand in hand then with training smart. Yes, trial the workouts, but, you know, break them down, try them in parts, or try them try doing complementary movements. So if, for example, this is very much off the top of my head now, you're really testing my training knowledge and stuff. But let's say in Precision Games or in turf games, rather than keep referring to our own competitions, in turf games, there's a complex, and it's a clean jerk, you know? Instead of for the 4 weeks leading into the competition, you're doing clean and jerk. How about doing some like clean high pulls? You know, breaking it down, doing some hand cleans, really focusing on the catch, really focusing on getting under the bar, and then breaking down the jerk and doing some strict press, maybe some push press, then working on the jerk, but light, you know, really light work, focusing on speed under the bar, moving the bar quickly, rather than what we see is a lot of people, they just go, right, it's clean and jerk, the lift has been announced, I am going to lift, clean and jerk as heavy as I can for the next 4 weeks.
Which I found like lots of people make mistakes in. It's like, even like in sports, right? It's literally about, for me, it was always about when it got closer to competitions, it was about technique. It wasn't about intensity. Literally, the intensity to went out, like, see you later, it's gone, especially the few days beforehand, because you're never going to improve that much before an event. Like a few days out, a week out, it's not going to, if it's a heavy lift or it's a fitness thing, it's literally about, okay, what are the subtle technical things that I can do to improve. If it's
Yeah.
about a running technique or a lifting technique or something like that, it was always based around.
Yeah.
If it was week out, it was about technically you do better because I was saving myself from blowing out before getting to a weekend. So it would be like, okay. If I was skipping involved, I was just like, wouldn't do a lot of skipping. It'd just be honing in on how to skip better or more efficiently or more effectively.
Yeah.
Doing short splits of that. So it's I think that's really good advice.
I think that's good advice. I think that is good advice. And I think the last piece of advice I would give people is, so as we mentioned earlier, we've got extremely high quality athletes here in the country, you know. And I think the world that we have now with like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, Snapchat, I don't know, maybe the kids are on Snapchat, I'm not. Yeah. But
massive in Australia, massive in the Middle East actually. It's huge here.
You can the great thing is you can look at what the top athletes are doing. Check out their Instagram stories. Okay, so this athlete's doing the same competition as me this weekend. Yeah, they're doing the elite division. I'm doing the everyday division. Yeah. Fine. Okay, what are they doing on Thursday? Yeah. Competition Saturday, what are they doing? They're probably going through their movement patterns. Maybe they're doing one more tasty workout on a Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. So you can look and, you know, copy them, you know.
100%.
You know, like...
And you'll find people that are related to you as well to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's very good advice as well on that one.
Yeah.
What was it for, from when it comes to a realistic expectation of development? Because there are so many more competitions on these days and people can progress and everyone progresses at their own state and their own pace. When it comes to realistic progression of what you think people... What do you see in people, like you said, like before, like 5 years ago when you first started precision, the games, that there was people doing certain things that had bad technique, now they got great technique or much improved since then. You know, is it a slow longevity progression around the space, or is it you see people accelerate in the space, or? Because what should people expecting when they come into events, right? Like, yeah, they're going to participate, but there's always that mindset of, I could have done better. I wish I'd done better.
Yeah,
I'm going to go away. I'm going to train, and I want to get better.
I'm going to throw a buzzword out there, and for me, it's like CPD. You know, it's continuous professional development.
Yeah,
it should always be. It's a journey. There is no destination.
Literally, yeah,
yeah, and
that's the hard thing for people to understand, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that coming to the events is brilliant. You have a great time. But the real magic and the real special thing is the journey. Yeah. You know, you turn up training, you go to your box or your gym or whatever, and you've got those social connections. You're all there. You're all training towards something. The journey of that and the journey of your own progress and the journey of, I've hit a PB and I've done this. It's all part of the journey. You know, there's no finish line. You're not going to wake up one day and be like, I won Precision Games. I'm done now.
Yeah,
you know, you're gonna win Precision Games, or you're gonna come 50th in Precision Games. You're gonna wake up, hopefully, still be like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Yeah,
you know, and then it's on to the next one. And that's the spice of life, though, isn't it? It's like, how can I just continuously be progressing, continuously be getting better? And I think that's what gets us up in the morning.
The other side of that too, like now you bring this up, is because in fitness, there's so much. When it comes to fitness competitions, there's always different elements usually in a competition, and within those elements, you don't see someone going first. Right? It's always, you know, you're trying to get the highest number of average finishes as high as you possibly can, and then I think that's what makes fitness so unique. I mean, when you look at most other sports, there is a particular type, like if it's a high jump. You know, it's trying to get up, and jump the highest. Yeah. But it's one discipline that you're setting to do, right? Or if it's a sports competition like rugby or football, that it's to win the league, and then you kind of back off and you go again next season. Where fitness there's so many, it's just continuously more and more. And I know they're trying to break it down into seasons now, but still, there's so many competitions around the world. At every time, you can literally just keep going and keep going and keep going. There's always going to be people in a competition that's going to be better at some places or another. Yeah.
That I think that builds resilience, I feel, though. You know, like going to a competition and not being the best at all of the individual workouts is good. It's very healthy. It helps to build that resilience in people. We did a competition in Saudi at the start of this year, and it was really, really cool. And the team that won, I was actually like secretly, even though I'm not supposed to have favorites, I was so happy they won.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because we had the elite male division had good numbers. There was like 30 teams in there. Teams of 3. And the team that won, they finished 5 workouts. I think they finished 6th, 11th, 5th, 3rd, and then like 12th.
Okay, well,
But they were consistently pretty good at everything. You know, like these huge guys came. Like the one guy lifts for Egypt, Olympic lifter, amazing. They won the lifting workout, fine, but then they came like last in like 3 other workouts, you know. And then this other team, they came and they were endurance athletes. You know, they won the endurance workout, obviously came like last in the lifting workout, and then middle of the pack on the other ones. But the team that won, you know, and this is one of the other things I love about this sport, as in functional fitness, you know, is they were just like balanced. You know, they weren't like super one thing. They were very well balanced. They were pretty good at everything, which is very transferable to life. You know, functional fitness.
Which is what's so good about fitness, right? Because here's the thing too, when you're someone, and I've recommended this to a lot of people too, when you go into fitness events, there's going to be certain fitness events will have a discipline or a workout that will better suit you. And as an individual, maybe you're not going to win it, but if you put your analysis around, I want to be good at this particular discipline, movement, this particular event, you know, you go out and win that event, and like, you know, great, there's wins without wins.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
You're giving people multiple opportunities to win.
Literally to be the top of the thing. And I think that's what a lot of people, when it gets into competition, I think that's the difference between when you participate and when you are elite. It's like you just become more well-rounded at a lot of different things, where fitness, I think, opens up that space to go, look, an endurance athlete is great at these running events or these high-volume lifting events, you know, or there's a strength athlete is better at. And I think there's a lot of, because you get in fitness, you get to drawn towards what you enjoy doing more. If you enjoy lifting a barbell, then you're just mostly going to, you don't want to go on the road and run, or vice versa, you know, or it's the circuit workouts. If you enjoy circuit, I think, what I mean? I think that's a big part of fitness and why people get into it.
On that point as well, so another thing that I think, like on your point earlier of like, is it a sport, is it not a sport, all this, I feel like, again, another reason why it probably is a sport is because it demands that, you know, it demands you to be well-rounded. You know, you can't just focus on one thing. So I think, like, that's another thing that I love about it. Another thing that I think makes it a great sport is the fact that it demands you to be well-rounded. And then if you want to be genuinely like really good at it, you have to work on your weaknesses, you know? And if you don't work on those weaknesses, then you are only ever going to be so good.
It's really funny you talk about that, because I literally had this thought, and I heard this thing about, it was around CrossFit, and I was like, cool. And it wasn't a bad point. Like, it was Tanner Shook and I forgot, Ryan Fisher, I think I was talking about it. Just with how, because like fitness competitions are always a variable, right? But then if you think about sport's a specific set of rules, specific outcome. Like, there's always, like, it's the goal, it's the points, it's the score, it's the amount of shots you make, stuff like that. And so, like, I do see fitness as a sport, but I see it as a different type of sport, which is where I have my... I mean, I don't care either way, to be honest. But I mean, like, I like the thought of there's sporting aspects in fitness competitions, because there's the competitive side of it. You know, and that's where when I personally would break it down. It's like, it's more of a sport within a space, because there's individually, you're a strong person, you're an endurance person, you're an athletic person, you're a cardio. You're a mobile person. Like, now there's gymnastics and a lot of these different things as well. So you've got to have this balanced aspect that's coming into it as well. And that's where I think that's where the sport is, because those particular individual disciplines is where people look to improve, like, which is the competitive or the where you start to compete. Like, I can handstand walk 200 meters or the longest or the whatever, something like, you know what I mean, like something like that. And so that's where like, for me, it's like a decathlon. That's what fitness competitions are, and like decathlon's a sport, so that type of thing. But you know what I mean. So that's what kind of when it comes to the competitive, that side of thing on sports, because when you hear someone says like, how do you get better at fitness? It's like, really good question. How do you get better at? Because
is there one right answer to that question? Probably not.
Well, the closest thing I think that's got to at the moment is potentially like the Crucible or like High Rocks. High Rocks probably more so at the moment, because High Rocks is the same workout over and over again. So, you know, there's a discipline that you go like, okay, that's where you can compare, for most part, like a marathon in Boston to a marathon in New York to London. Like, you know, you have a marathon, you have a set distance, and people train and they compete on an even kind of basis. Whereas with fitness competition, it's harder to do. But I think, I know, I definitely am interested to see the evolution of the sport of fitness, to be fair, of how competitions do evolve, or make it a level playing ground? Because that's a tough one. You know what I mean?
It's very
Because it's otherwise sometimes I think CrossFit's very strength dominated. If you just could be a good Olympic
I think
lifter,
it goes through trends, right? Like it went through a bit of a. I remember a few years ago, it was very gymnastic and strength power. Like there was a lot of Olympic lifting, there was a lot of gymnastics, and I feel like recently has moved away from that a little bit. It's kind of adopted a lot of the stuff that we're seeing with the hybrid athletes. Like you're seeing a lot, like a little bit more running, a little bit more body weight type stuff. I love it when they throw in some real spicy stuff like mountain biking or something rogue like that, or like paddleboarding or something, you know, something really, really like rogue.
outside the fitness.
Yeah, that's
realm.
cool. I saw a really good one as well. It was one of the big ones they did in America where they had to like sprint, but they were jumping over obstacles. I thought that was super cool, extremely functional. Like, you know, I thought that was like a real interesting test. And you did get to see like how well-rounded some of these athletes are, you know. Like I wasn't a fan of CrossFit when it was sort of 2019, 2020, because there was a lot of seemed to be a lot of gymnastics to me, and that's a huge weakness of mine.
Okay,
you know? I mean, I don't have any shoulders. So.
But I think for CrossFit, what it is fit for purpose. Like it just got more people involved because there's a variation of it. I think you brought a really good point up earlier on when we were talking about how fitness for me is the impact it has on people's actual lives. The discipline, the structure, the management, the social aspect of fitness. That's and the impact that it has on people. Like there's so many like people talk about fitness all the time. It's become a talking point for everyone. Like actually, I had a conversation today, and it was just talking about how 5-10 years ago, it used to be about, let's get a protein shake, and people knew about protein, and that was the extent of their knowledge. Yeah. And now I even talk about amino acids, dopamine, testosterone, adenosine. They're talking about the knowledge base of the general person is so much higher these days, and the same now with fitness is. And I've had this conversation with trainers. Is like, I'm frustrating at work. I said, yeah, because a lot of people now know about fitness beyond the whole. How to squat, how to do a push-up. Every magazine used to have a push-up article or how to do a push-up. Nowadays, push-up's it's still a basic exercise and an exercise that's essential, but not most people, but a lot more people know how to do a push-up or do it regularly part of their routines. And where competition, I think, allows people to give them direction to, now I can compare myself. And if it is a push-up, that maybe there is a push-up in certain competitions, they can compare themselves to other people or rowing or whatever else that goes on. So it's the impact of this, anyway. So going back to what I was asking you, is the impact that you see the growth of fitness competitions on people's lives. You kind of tapped on before. Is it the environment? Is it social groups? People, like you said, people aren't going out on the weekends anymore. Do you feel like yours has grown, like your competition's grown, or the community of fitness is growing because of that? Because now there's more awareness, there's better environments. There's what's leading to this growth? What is it that's because what's the real crux of why people should get involved, right? I mean, it's not just a do fitness, which people hate because it's hard work sometimes.
Yeah, like I would probably say, like growing up in the UK, coming from like rugby background again, drinking culture is huge. Like I was kind of brought up, not like my parents actually don't drink, but growing up in the rugby circles, I used to think that what do you do on the weekends? You get pissed.
Well, that's it.
Like, what else is there to do? You spend your Sundays hungover, like, and you go and have like a roast dinner. Awesome, but it's like, okay, so that's and I was sort of like living in this routine of. You train really hard, you work really hard through the week, you play your game on a Friday or a Saturday, and then you get pissed after it, and then when you get pissed, that's your fun, that's kind of like
the reward.
And that's your social, you're ticking your social box, you're ticking your fun box, you're ticking your relaxing box. But like slowly, like, as I started to learn a little bit more about what I actually enjoy doing, where I actually get my fulfillment from, this is about me personally, I kind of realized that actually, even though I've been doing this now for like quite a long time, do I even enjoy it? I've got some great memories of going out with the lads and having a few drinks and stuff. But I mean, doing that every week, you know. And then I came to Dubai, and I continued doing the same. I embraced it every weekend, zero gravity every other weekend, you know, and had some great times. Don't get me wrong, but it just gets to a point when you're doing that every single weekend, you're not actually really building any meaningful social connections. You're just kind of like going out, getting so drunk you can barely remember your own name, doing some silly things, doing some funny things in the moment, you're laughing and stuff. But then you wake up the next day, you feel not great, obviously. You know, you're hungover, you're dehydrated, you've negated a lot of your gains from the week. You start the week tired. It has a knock-on effect. By Wednesday, Thursday, you start feeling better. You start feeling like 100% of a person again, but then you go and do it again that weekend. I was kind of caught in that, and I think a lot of people do get caught in that. And I think because it is so much fun, because it is, you know, it's hard to get out of it. But when you do get out of it, which
it's dopamine, isn't it?
you're getting that dopamine hit. You have a couple of drinks, you relax. That's what it does to the brain, you know. It relaxes the brain, your inhibitions drop. And yeah, but
you're chatting with people enjoying your company. You're like, oh, great to be around your
Like I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, preaching about like I'm like, I mean, I still enjoy a drink, you know. I still enjoy a beer. I still enjoy going out with the guys, the rugby guys. But I feel like now it's 1% of where I get my enjoyment from. Whereas before it was probably like 90% of where I thought I got my enjoyment from. And then to come back to your question on the like ticking the social box with these events, I feel like you get way more of a social connection with people. It's way more meaningful. You're all like right-minded because you're not pissed. I mean, you might straight after a workout, you might feel a little bit, you know. But yeah, like your endorphins are flying because you've just done something. Your dopamine's like flooding the body because you've just done something
exhilarating, isn't it?
Yeah, you've just done something like exciting that's like made that happen. Something healthy that's made that happen. You're talking to people, everyone's happy. You got like a shared connection, shared interest straight away. You're there for like a few hours. But I think like another one of the great things is you're ticking all these like boxes with social interact, all that, but you're also at the same time doing something that's actually healthy for you physically, physiologically and physically healthy for you and your body.
Well, you challenge it. Like when it comes to competition, you literally have to challenge yourself because it doesn't matter. You're always going to push further than you think you are able to or you're capable of. And you're always, you know, that's where I like that from that social. That's where the talking points always come from. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. And there's always people in fitness competitions that are always cheering you on or encouraging or motivating you to go faster or go heavier or to, you know, or always congratulating for your personal achievements too. Like PBs and PRs are a massive thing in fitness competitions as well, you know, so that you talk about this.
I feel like in the moment, right? So if you go out and you have a couple of beers, you get drunk, or you go to a competition and you do a fitness competition and you do a workout and you talk to people, both of them in the moment, probably same feel good factor, let's say, or similar. You know, they both make you feel like a 8 out of 10 good. But I feel like the main difference is going to like a competition like this, the lasting positive effect that has compared to going out and getting drunk, and the lasting negative effect that has. You know, you multiply this one by 10. Multiply this one by 10 weekends in a row. You multiply this one by 10 weekends in a row. Where are you at the end of this 10 weeks? Where are you at the end of this 10 weeks?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
the massive discrepancy is huge.
Yeah. This one, you're in a hole, you know, your physical health, your mental health is probably like not in a great place. Whereas this one, after 10 weeks of doing that, you'd be in an amazing place, you know.
There's always progression there too, which I think is the spice of life for most people. If you're progressing, you're learning, you're developing, you're growing. And that's what people enjoy about life.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I think the in the moment feeling is very similar. They're both fun, you know, but it's the lasting effect, which is the real telltale sign of which one is more valuable.
Well, I think that you said it before earlier, the fulfillment of one far exceeds the other. Like when you're doing your fitness challenges, because you push yourself, you've got better. The fulfillment and there's value there for somebody, and which I think in itself is probably the one reason to get involved with a fitness event, because that fulfillment factor. The one of the last things I want to ask you is about the future of, because it's growing so much in the last few years. I imagine it's only going to continue to grow, but is there a ceiling when it comes to fitness events, or how, because there's so much variety when it comes to fitness, and that's where I think in order for fitness to become a bigger sport, or the sport of fitness, then there needs to be some kind of, or potentially events out there that do have some, like the High Rocks. I think that's why High Rocks has its popularity. It's building its community based on people can do that any kind of where. But what's your views on that, on the development and the growth of fitness events, and is there a ceiling? Or
honestly, for me, I feel like it's it's only the beginning. If
yeah?
if I'm honest, yeah, I don't think there is a ceiling, or not one that I can see in the foreseeable, because I feel that sport is changing globally. You know, I feel like sport before was kind of more of like a spectator thing. You know, so if you look at like rugby, football, especially in the States, like American football, if you don't play top level, you know, for a lot of people, it's kind of the end. It was the end of your sporting career. You know,
retired.
yeah, you like, and then what is your sporting experience now? Well, it's you go and watch other people do it. You know, you watch the Six Nations, or you watch, you know, the rugby or the Premiership, the football Premiership. You know, you maybe play a little bit of social football on the weekend, but that's like, you know, that's not. It's not. I don't know. I feel like before it was more of like a spectator thing, whereas I feel like now, and I think that fitness and hybrid races are really driving this. I feel like sport now is becoming much more experiential. You know, I think
totally.
I think there's something extremely special about. Okay, so you rock up to a High Rocks. Okay, you do the race. You're doing it, and you're quite new to it, and all this. But then you look at like the pro guys or the best guys in the world, and you can empathize with what they're going through because you've yourself just experienced it. Yeah. Like I've just done it this morning. I know how hard those wall balls are. This guy's just done 100 wall balls unbroken.
Yeah.
You appreciate how
And more
hard
resistance
that
or
is.
more weight.
Yeah. So it's like, what does that do? It makes me watching that guy enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So now I can enjoy it as a spectator because I've also just experienced it on the same floor that he's just experienced it. You know, like I'm not going to watch like
great points.
Wales play rugby. And like I've just played before. No, like I'm there to watch.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I'm there to watch them all do it. But now I feel like, and I feel like that is actually amazing because that's where all the other good stuff comes from. Like all the benefits we've just spoken about from getting involved in sport and fitness. It comes from you yourself experiencing it, you doing it.
Massively.
So I feel like, sport is becoming a lot more experiential now. And I think by creating competitions and events which are extremely inclusive, it provides more people with these experiences, which is just only, I feel, going to grow. Or there certainly is a lot of scope for it to continue to grow. Yeah.
What would it be then for the experience point of view? Because you guys are trying to add that into your what is the experiences? Because a lot of people do go to events and then they do watch and then it's like, oh, now what do I do? Is it away from the events? Is that you think that's another space to explore, or is it the actual at the events themselves, like the experience to add to the experience for people?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's just doubling down on what makes it a better all round experience. You know, so I mean, again, plug coming in, but we always focus on the overall experience, and with Precision Games is a good opportunity for us to do that, because Precision Games, for anyone that doesn't know, you come, if you're a participant, you're going to compete in 4 or 5 workouts across the course of an entire day. So you are giving up your entire Saturday. You're there for the whole day. For 4 or 5 workouts, which will vary in length from, some of them will be as short as like 8 minutes. Some of them will probably be as long as 20 minutes. So total actual time on the floor is less than 2 hours, but you could be there for 8 to 10 hours. So for us, it's about how can we make the day's experience more worthwhile, more enjoyable, more memorable for people. So some big focus points for us now are to enhance the event with other exciting elements. So an obvious one is to have a really good MC. You know, we've worked with some of the best MCs in the region. Having a really good MC, which makes this if you're going to watch your friends or watch the elite athletes, you can enjoy it more because the MC is kind of commentating, kind of talking you through the workouts a little bit more, maybe giving you some facts about some of the athletes that are on the floor, making that better. Music, obviously, really important. Getting a good DJ there, playing some good tunes, and then good partners, vendors, which we're very lucky to be working with some really exciting vendors and partners, you know, giving like some freebies away, selling some good products, selling, good opportunities for people to interact with them. But another focus point that we're also bringing into Precision Games, I won't give away all the surprises, but we've got some fun elements that are not the workouts taking place at Precision Games this time. So we've got like some games, we've got some challenges, some stuff on the side. So if you're not competing, or you have a bit of a longer break, like maybe an hour or 90-minute break, you can go and do like something else that's a little bit fun, Or if you've come just to watch, you can also jump in and get involved in some of the fun stuff that we're going to have going on the side as well. So we want to really make it, you're coming for 10 hours, but it's going to be 10 hours of like awesomeness.
Yeah, the option to be engaged more throughout the day. Yeah, I think it's awesome. Well, then you got to get down there, don't you?
Yeah. So
good plug. When is it?
May the 3rd.
May the 3rd. Where?
Yeah. It'll be taking place in Sports City.
Okay. At the track.
No, May 3rd is pretty toasty. So it'll mostly be taking place inside the dome. Amazing facility. It's a full acre inside that we're going to kit out for all the workouts. We'll have a cool little recovery vendors village outside then with ice baths and stuff like this. And then, there'll be a few workouts then in the evening under the lights outside.
Cool. Awesome. Look down that camera there and let them know exactly where. Details, where to sign up.
So guys, you can sign up for the Precision Games at Precision Series Instagram. The link is in our bio. So it's teams of 4, 2 males, 2 females. And like I said at the start of the podcast, we've got 5 different divisions. We've got youth, everyday, intermediate, elite, and also masters. So wherever you're at with your level and your fitness journey, there's something for everyone. So yeah, hit the link in our bio, get signed up. We'll see you there.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for today, man. Appreciate that. The insights about the events and stuff like that. And
my
hopefully a lot of people get into the event side of things as well, because I think it is a great way to stay fit for life. You know, it's not restricted to youth and top of the world. It's like they said, there's masters, and you guys are talking about everyday people as well. So it's awesome to appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No worries, Logan.